Before the Kaaba became Islam's holiest site, giant demonic idols ruled this sacred ground. And picture this, 360 massive stone giants surrounding Allah's house, each one more terrifying than the last, each one demanding blood, sacrifice, and worship. For centuries, these demonic statues held an entire nation in spiritual darkness. The people of Mecca bowed to carved stone, while the true God watched from above. But what were these giants really? Who carved them? And why did they hold such terrifying power over the human heart? The truth about Mecca's giant idols is far more disturbing than you imagine. Long before Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was born, Mecca was a city trapped in spiritual darkness. The sacred Kaaba, built by Abraham and Ishmael to worship the one true God, had been corrupted into a temple of demons. Picture ancient Mecca, a bustling trade city where merchants came not just for commerce, but for worship. But what they worshipped was an abomination. The transformation began slowly, one idol, then 10, then dozen, until 360 giant statues surrounded the house of Allah. Each tribe brought their own stone god. Each family carved their own demon to pray to. But these weren't just statues. Historical sources describe them as towering giants, some reaching the height of palm trees. Carved from black stone, decorated with gold and precious gems, they stood like silent sentinels of spiritual oppression. The largest was Hubal, a red carnelian statue with a golden hand, standing inside the Kaaba itself. The Arabs believed it controlled destiny and fate. They would cast arrows before it, seeking its demonic guidance for every major decision. Then there was Al-Lat, Al-Uzza, and Manat, three goddesses so revered that even distant tribes traveled to Mecca just to bow before them. People believed these female deities controlled fertility, war, and death itself. But here's what's truly terrifying. These weren't just religious symbols, they were spiritual prisons. Every prayer offered to stone was a chain around the human soul. Every sacrifice made to carved rock was a step deeper into spiritual darkness. The people of Mecca had become slaves to their own creations. They carved gods from stone, then bowed to what their own hands had made. They sacrificed their children's future for the approval of lifeless rock. They traded their eternal souls for the fleeting comfort of false gods, Shidi. And in the center of it all stood the Kaaba, Abraham's pure temple to the one true God, defiled by 360 demons demanding worship. The spiritual atmosphere of Mecca had become so thick with idol worship that people couldn't imagine any other way to live. Generation after generation grew up believing that carved stone could hear their prayers, answer their needs, and determine their destiny. But Allah was watching, and His patience was running out. What made these idols so powerful? Why did an entire civilization bow to carved stone? The answer lies in understanding what these giants really represented. Each of the 360 idols wasn't just a statue, it was a spiritual gateway to demonic forces. Ancient sources tell us that the people believed spirits lived inside these stone giants. They thought the idols could see, hear, and respond to human need. Consider the idol of Wad, carved in the shape of a giant man, said to control love and friendship. Tribes would travel for months just to pray before it, believing their relationships depended on its stone blessing. Suwa appeared as a woman, controlling fertility and childbirth. Desperate mothers would sacrifice their most precious possessions, believing this carved female could grant them children or protect the ones they had. Yaguth took the form of a lion, representing strength and power. Warriors would pray to it before battle, smearing its stone mouth with blood, believing it would make them invincible in combat. Ya'uk appeared as a horse, controlling speed and travel. Merchants wouldn't begin a journey without offering gifts to its carved hooves, believing their success depended on its stone approval. Nasr was shaped like an eagle, governing flight and messages. People believed it could carry their prayers to heaven and bring back divine answers through dreams and omens. But the most disturbing aspect wasn't the idols themselves. It was what people did to serve them. Human sacrifice wasn't uncommon. Parents would bury their daughters alive as offerings to Al-Lat, believing this ultimate sacrifice would earn them prosperity and honor. The practice became so normalized that entire generations grew up thinking child murder was an act of worship. Blood rituals were performed daily. Animals were slaughtered on altar stones. Their blood poured over the idols' faces and hands. The ground around each giant statue was permanently stained red from centuries of sacrifice. Sacred rituals took place in the shadows of these stone demons. Temple practices were considered holy acts, with people believing physical depravity would earn spiritual blessing from their carved gods. The psychological impact was devastating. Children grew up believing they were worthless unless stone statues approved of them. Adults made life-changing decisions based on the random fall of divination arrows before carved rock. Entire families would be destroyed if an idol's oracle gave unfavorable guidance. Marriages were arranged or forbidden based on stone whispers. Business partnerships dissolved if the idols seemed displeased. The spiritual oppression was suffocating. People lived in constant fear of offending their stone gods. They believed every misfortune was punishment from carved demons. Every blessing was a reward for proper worship. The 360 giants had created a prison of spiritual fear, where human beings served lifeless rock, sacrificed their children to stone silence, and traded their eternal souls for temporary comfort. For 6 centuries, these demonic statues ruled Mecca. For 6 centuries, the sacred house of Abraham was defiled by idol worship. For 6 centuries, humanity bowed to what their own hands had carved. But divine patience has limits, and the one true God was preparing to send a final messenger who would shatter every stone giant and restore the Kaaba to its original purity. The year was 630 CE. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, stood at the gates of Mecca with 10,000 believers, ready to fulfill a divine mission, the complete destruction of every idol that had defiled Allah's house. What happened next wasn't just a military conquest, it was a spiritual exorcism of an entire city. The Prophet, peace be upon him, entered the Kaaba and found himself face to face with 360 demons carved in stone. For centuries, these giants had accepted worship meant for Allah alone. Now divine justice had arrived. With his own blessed hands, the Prophet began the destruction. Using a stick, he pointed at each idol and recited, "Truth has come, and falsehood has vanished." Indeed, falsehood is bound to vanish. One by one the giants fell. Hubal, the red carnelian demon that had controlled destiny, crashed to the ground, shattering into countless pieces. Its golden hand, once kissed by thousands of desperate worshippers, lay broken in the dust. Al-Lat, Al-Uzza, and Manat, the 3 goddesses that had demanded child sacrifice, were demolished by the believers. Their carved faces, once feared by entire tribes, were reduced to rubble. The psychological impact was immediate and profound. People who had lived their entire lives in fear of stone statues watched as these powerful gods fell with a single touch from the prophet's stick. The demons that had seemed so mighty, so deserving of worship and sacrifice, revealed their true nature: powerless carved rock, unable to defend themselves, unable to help their worshippers, unable to do anything but fall when confronted with divine truth. As each idol crashed to the ground, spiritual chains that had bound the people of Mecca for centuries were broken. The oppressive atmosphere of fear and demonic worship was replaced by the pure light of monotheistic faith. The Kaaba was finally restored to its original purpose, worship of the one true God who created everything, controls everything, and needs no carved representation because he is beyond human imagination. The 360 demons that had terrorized Mecca were reduced to broken stone and dust. Their worshippers were freed from spiritual slavery. Their altars were cleansed of blood. Their temples were purified for true worship. The transformation was complete. The sacred house of Abraham was no longer defiled by idol worship. The city of Mecca was no longer terrorized by stone demons. The people were no longer slaves to their own carved creations. And the lesson resonates through history. No matter how mighty false gods appear, no matter how long they dominate, no matter how many people bow to them, when divine truth arrives, they crumble like dust. Today, the Kaaba stands purified. Where 360 stone demons once demanded worship, millions of believers now turn in pure monotheistic prayer. The lesson of Mecca's giant idols isn't just historical, it's personal. What stone giants rule your heart? What carved demons demand your worship? What false gods have you created with your own hands? The same divine power that shattered 360 idols in a single day can break any false god that enslaves the human heart.